Hello Wolfpack, back with another Bitcoin update here today, and Bitcoin still on the bottom side of that ascending channel formation, a pattern of exhaustion long term, and ascending channel formation as opposed to a descending channel formation is a very bearish formation, so naturally anyone who is bullish in this zone is not really looking at the data. The data suggests that ascending channel formation breaks the downside around 72% of the time. If you think this is a bear flag, and again, you don't have to think this is a bear flag to think this is an ascending channel. They're two kind of separate entities here, but some people would be under the assumption this is a bear flag. To that, they would be around 77% chance of breaking down, according to the data we're using for cryptoacademy.com, right? .courses, I mean. Okay, so essentially, bearish formation, descending volume increases the chance of a breakdown. There is still a chance of a breakup, of course, however, it's very unlikely. If we're taking into account the 4-year cycle theory, and we're taking into account, for example, the 3-day chart and the similarities we're seeing between 2018 and this year, in which we're seeing compression between the 50 and 200 before it comes to a cross and then a crash. The cross is going to be about a month and a half, right? We're looking at the weekly chart. Every time we lose a 50 week, we end up with 200, right? We've lost the 50 week, we've rejected off of it, and we're probably going to end up with 200, right? There's lots of evidence to suggest the bearish scenario is going to play out. There's very little evidence to suggest, other than on-chain data, that the bullish scenario is going to play out. Now, I want to address on-chain data. On-chain data, I get it all the time in my comment section. How can you be bearish when the on-chain data is so bullish? I would encourage you to consider the fact that those on-chain data charts you're being shown are cherry-picked, because very few people have access to on-chain data charts, right? Very few people. You have to have access to Glassnode, and very expensive membership. And generally speaking, even if you have access to it, it's very hard to get a depiction of what the on-chain data charts are telling you, simply because there's so many different charts. There's hundreds of them, right? So you could have dozens of charts supporting the bullish opinion, only post that on your Twitter, and then everyone thinks it's bullish, but then there's also dozens of charts that support the bearish opinion, and you don't post any of those, and so it's very easily manipulated. And given the fact that on Twitter and YouTube, and I can attest to this, it's much easier to grow if you're bullish, because you're playing into people's natural biases. If you're bullish, the market goes up, they make money, they're more likely to follow you, right? So given that, you can kind of understand how I can think that, well, potentially, I'm not saying it's certain, but potentially these on-chain data analysts are favoring the bullish argument, because if the bullish argument plays out, they make more money, they get more followers, and even if they just talk about it, they get more followers, right? There's a clear bias in the market towards the bullish argument. No one wants to be bearish. I don't want to be bearish. Why would I want to be bearish? All I get is constant insults and hate, and if I'm correct, it's just, even if I'm correct, it's just luck. But, when I'm wrong, it's like, well, you're a bloody idiot. But, when people are bullish, people don't tell them they're idiots when they're wrong, unless they're claiming something absolutely absurd, right? So there's no preferable aspects of being bullish, bearish. There's nothing to it, right? It's all negative. Even if you're correct, it's all negative. And so, people assume that these on-chain data analysts are just, giving you the fair side of information. It's like, well, that's not necessarily the case. And since you don't have access to the charts, you can't really fact check them, right? They could show you 10 charts, 10 on-chain data charts, which might seem like a lot, and they could really play the emphasis on those. They're so bullish, but then there could be 100 that are bearish, and they won't show you those ones, right? So I don't believe in this whole on-chain data argument. And when people say the on-chain data is bullish, what does that even mean? There's so many different charts. And you could play that back into TA. You could say, well, there's so many different ways you could perceive the same chart for Bitcoin. I agree, but there's only a certain amount of correct ways, right? Whereas on-chain data, you can twist any piece of information to fit your bias. I don't like on-chain data. I think it's honestly akin to astrology, because it's very, very, very hard to read correctly and get an accurate point of view of what the market's going to be doing. And by the way, you should never be using on-chain data to predict anything but macro price action, right? Anything but month to month, even year to year price action should not be used. On-chain data should not be used to predict that, because it gives you an indication of longer term trends generally. And also, I don't like the opinion people like to say, well, Bitcoin's flowing off exchanges, it's bullish. It's like, well, not necessarily, right? It's multi-layered. Anyway, let's get past on-chain data. But the fact of the matter is, obviously it's my opinion, but I think a lot of people would agree with me on this. The fact of the matter is, we're not looking too good on Bitcoin right now, right? I've been saying this personally since 66K. I claimed a bear market first and foremost at 58K, but I've been selling since 66, right? And then everyone tells me, well, why are you bearish right now? It's like, I'm not bearish right now. I've been bearish for a long time. I've been bearish since Bitcoin was double the valuation it was at, it was at 2 weeks ago. So don't tell me I should be bearish now. I've been bearish for a long enough time where it doesn't matter if I'm bullish or bearish or not, because guess what? If Bitcoin breaks up above 48K, flips to 200-day SMA, I can be bullish and I can still profit from that bearish prediction because I still avoided a massive loss, right? So the point is, regardless of all of that, the chart doesn't look good right now. And if we look at the weekly chart, for example, let's show you why. Well, first of all, I'm just going to debunk a few arguments here. A lot of people would say that, well, look at this massive hidden divergence on Bitcoin. Look at this massive bullish divergence on Bitcoin. That's so bullish, whatever. I would say to that, well, again, I can match you. I can match you and say, look at this massive bearish divergence on Bitcoin. Okay, and it's still playing out. It's still, the resistance line is still playing out. And then I can match you again and say, well, Bitcoin had higher highs here, and then the RSI had a completely different story, right? That's a hidden bearish divergence. Okay, so let's not jump into the RSI and say that's the saving grace. I think a lot of people like to do that. The fact of the matter is there's an equal amount of bullishness and bearishness on the RSI at the moment. Now, MACD is kind of the same question here, or the same story. They say, well, what about the bullish MACD cross on the weekly chart? Well, first and foremost, that bullish MACD cross doesn't look too hot right now because it's actually converging back into a bearish MACD cross again. But what I would say in 2018, you currently see it too well, let me zoom in. In 2018, when we had very similar price action to what we're having right now, we saw a bullish MACD cross, and guess what? It flattened out. It never actually crossed bullish completely. We are seeing a very similar thing play out right now. We saw the cross, but it's flattening out because we're seeing red candles. And so it could just do the same thing as 2018 where it flattens out and eventually dumps, right? So that's not really a valid argument either. Well, it's a valid argument, but it doesn't really hold up because it's not playing out, isn't it? It's just speculation. And then the third thing we need to look at is stochastic RSI. And people say all the time, well, stochastic RSI is very hit or miss. And I agree with that. But what we can say about stochastic RSI is it called the 2017 top, right? It also called the pre-COVID crash drop. Okay, so the top, sorry. It also called this little top here in August before we crashed down from around 13K to around 9K, right? It also called, generally speaking, the January top here before we crashed down from around 42K all the way to 27K, right? And let me circle that. And then it also called both the September and the November tops in 2021. So yeah, it's hit or miss, and it's hard to get a really accurate example of exactly when it's telling you to sell or buy, because as you can see, it can be overbought but then continue uptrending for a while. But the point is, it still marks tops, vaguely, alright? So when we have a top here on stochastic RSI on April 4th, which is when we jumped above the 50-week, and we've crossed over and we've seen a negative cross in the stochastic RSI, that suggests, more often than not, that it's correct, and that suggests that the top is in for Bitcoin, right? The short-term top, the bear market top is in for Bitcoin. I do not think, right, you can hold me to this if you want to, I personally do not think, although it doesn't even matter to my overall prediction, but let's just say it anyway, I personally do not think Bitcoin will go above 48K again in this bear market. I don't think so. In fact, I'd go as far to say I don't think it's going to go above 48K again, maybe throughout the entirety of 2022. Very hard to say, but generally speaking, that's my overall prediction. I doubt it will get there again in 2022. I'm not going to say I predict it. I doubt it, right? Now, what does Bitcoin need to do to be bullish again, right? What do we need to be bullish on Bitcoin? Well, we need to break above the 200-day SMA, which is, hence my prediction, at 48K. So if we break above the 200-day SMA, we will be bullish again on Bitcoin, in my personal opinion, right? Furthermore, if you want to be very conservative, you could even say, and I might even say this, right? Let's see. You could even say if we break above the ascending channel formation, you can be bullish on Bitcoin. I think that's more of a logical assumption to make, right? If we break above the channel formation, the structure we're in currently, you could be bullish on Bitcoin. So let me just rephrase what I said. I don't think Bitcoin will break out of this ascending channel formation to the upside, right? Rather than the 2022 prediction. I think that's more of a concise prediction I can be a little bit more confident in. I don't think this is going to break to the upside. Obviously, I think it's going to break to the downside. Regardless of what happens first, that's the overall kind of consensus I'm making on Bitcoin. Before I jump into the rest of the video, in which I'm going to be looking at Ethereum, the Bitcoin dominance chart, and the total cryptocurrency market cap, I'm going to jump into Become a Trader, a 10-unit course. Me and Megawell Crypto, as you guys would probably know, have created a Learn to Trade course. It's available for pre-orders now. The release date is May 16th, so about a month away, but you can pre-order now for a lower price. Once it releases, the price will be raised. So if you pre-order now, you get a lower price and you get the content on the release date rather than just paying on the release date for a higher price and receiving the content. You can read the description here, pause the video, or you can just go onto the website. The link will be in the pinned comment below. And if you want more information, and there's the unit topics, if you want more information on the course or the price or the payment details, etc., chuck us an email here at cryptoacademycourses@gmail.com, right? And you can find that on the website as well. So keen to hear some inquiries from you guys. Cheers. Now, the hourly chart on Bitcoin is equally as negative in my personal opinion. Now, I previously had a different structure here that said we broke it out to the upside. I don't agree with that structure anymore. It's too hit or miss. You know, I noted in the last video, I had a structure in which, you know, we broke to the upside, but different exchange charts were showing different things, and so it wasn't necessarily reliable. But what I would say we're in now on Bitcoin is a bearish pennant formation, right? Basically what that is, it's a symmetrical triangle after a sharp downwards trend. Right, and we've had a sharp downwards trend here. Okay, that is the flagpole there, and if we apply that to a breakout zone, you can see Bitcoin is targeting. You know, it's not a coincidence. This all lines up, and people say TR doesn't work, but look at this. Bitcoin is targeting from this bearish pennant formation, the dotted yellow uptrending line. Bitcoin is literally telling us in the chart right now that the next move, exactly as per a measured move, is this dotted yellow uptrending line, which is perfectly logical. It makes perfect sense. And so I would expect Bitcoin to come down to that line at just above or just below 37K within the next week or so. That's what I said in the previous videos, next week and a half or so. I think Bitcoin will come down to that line, or at least make its move towards that line. Now, this bearish pennant formation is pending for a breakout before 48 hours. So within 48 hours, we'll be seeing a breakout. I sound like a broken record because I said this a few days ago about a false structure. This is the main structure here. Within 48 hours, we will be seeing a breakout on the descending on the bearish pennant formation. Most likely, it will take us downwards to the targeted move of around just below 37K, probably 36 point something, and that's what it's telling us. Now, obviously, there is a chance that move breaks to the upside, right? The bearish pennant doesn't have to break to the downside, and if it breaks to the upside, we are targeting the bull market support band, right? So we can take the same measured move and we'll take it from a regular symmetrical triangle, apply it to the breakout point there, and the bull market support band will do something like this. Let me just get the brush out. Right, and we'll probably hit the bull market support band and then reject and then maybe do something like that and come down, right? So overall, regardless of what happens in this short-term structure, it's pretty bearish, right? I don't think it looks good right now, and I think that's pretty clear. And if we're looking at something like the total cryptocurrency market cap, we can see a very similar story. What are we seeing on the total cryptocurrency market cap? We're seeing, guess what? A bear flag formation, right? A bear flag formation on total cryptocurrency market cap using in the same structure of Bitcoin, right? It's kind of like an ascending channel formation after a long downwards trend, and that's not good to see, right? And we're seeing this major uptrending support line since around January 2021 being tested, kind of, you know, furiously tested, I guess you could say. And if that does drop, and if we do lose that to the downside, you know, that's going to be a confirmed breakdown from the entire cryptocurrency market, and we're going to be going straight towards that major support block, and probably won't see an upswing like that, right? But we'll probably see something like this, and then we can make the next move, right? And by next move, I mean, you know, we don't know where that's going to be. It's pending. And that's going to be a 30% drop, 35% drop for the entire cryptocurrency market. So about a 25% drop for Bitcoin and about a 50% drop for altcoins. That's generally what you see, or a 45% drop for altcoins. You know, so not good, not good. We have to hold that line in total cryptocurrency market cap. Obviously, I'm bearish. I don't think we'll hold it. But, you know, if we do, and so long as we're above that line, I can see how you could make a bullish argument. As for Ethereum, same kind of story, although Ethereum does look considerably more bullish than Bitcoin right now. And why would I say that? Well, it's pretty simple, really. We have kind of like an ascending channel formation, kind of like a bear flag. But the thing with Ethereum is you could probably argue that this is actually was a bearish pennant formation that we broke to the upside, came above, right? And now we're flipping it for a resistance support flip on the 50-week as well, on the 50-day, I should say. And we'll probably see something like that, right? That's the argument you could make. Now, I don't think that the entire cryptocurrency market is going to be driven to the upside by Ethereum. But if I had to predict Ethereum as an individual kind of entity right now, I would say it's going to go up. However, unfortunately, Ethereum is not an individual entity. It's driven by Bitcoin, and Bitcoin looks bearish, so I'd say it's probably going to go down. But on a surface level, the Ethereum chart doesn't look too bad right now. So let's see what happens there. It should be interesting. We could see a little jump up for altcoins. Who knows? But as for, and this is kind of tying into that, as for the total the Bitcoin dominance chart, which measures the percentage of the entire cryptocurrency market cap that's in Bitcoin in comparison to altcoins, it's at 41% right now, which means 41% of all the money in crypto is in Bitcoin and the rest is in altcoins. The other 59% is in altcoins. This is looking bullish, right? And that's not good, right? So this is kind of a reverse. Bullish is not a good thing, right? If this thing goes up, it means that Bitcoin is gaining more power, which means that altcoins have less power, which means that altcoins perform worse, right? So this thing being bullish is not good for you, right, in terms of making profits. If you want to see an altcoin season, you want to see this thing goes down. You want to see this thing go down dramatically, right? Like we saw from March 2021 to May 2021. We saw it drop massively. That was an altcoin season, right? And then also in 2017, we saw it drop from December 2017 to January 2018. That was an altcoin season, right? This thing is in a descending wedge formation. It's seeing a massive uptrend on the RSI, massive uptrend on MACD. It's looking bullish, which means that it's probably going to go upwards at some point. It could take a long time to macro chart. At some point, go upwards here when Bitcoin breaks down, whenever that may be, and retest high resistance, which means it's not very good for altcoins. Now, there's a lot of time between now and the breakout upwards, most likely. It could take months. And so it's not something we need to be too concerned about right now, but it is another chart that's saying we're macro bearish. So overall, and I say this every video, but there's new evidence presented in this video. But overall, generally speaking, Bitcoin in the short term looks a little bit neutral, probably leaning more bearish now because of this bearish pennant formation. And longer term, it doesn't look good at all. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.